Out in San Bernardino County, which is east of Los Angeles, a guy was driving a SUV and he knocked into a telephone pole. The telephone pole snapped in half. A wire is then stretched across the road. A motorcycle driver comes along a minute later and he's decapitated because of that wire. Now, the newspapers describe that as a freak accident, rightfully so. I mean, that happens like once every 8 million years. But how often do we see black on white murder described as a freak accident, a random event that has no explanation behind it? It's just one of those crazy things that happens on extremely rare occasions. Well, we hear that every day. The latest comes out of Austin, Texas.
Man is in jail in New Orleans charged with killing an Austin defense attorney found dead in his home here Friday.
Now, investigators are releasing more details tonight about what happened to 74-year-old James Short, including how he went shopping with the suspect just before the murder. KVUE in Austin American Statesman reporter Colin Flaherty first broke this development today and joins us now with the latest. Tony, what can you tell us?
Well, Jenny and Mike, investigators are laying out a really tragic end for a man family members say spent his life trying to help others. This is the man now charged with murder. His name is Justin Nicholas Twine, and tonight officials are trying to get him extradited back to Travis County. According to an arrest affidavit, days before the murder, Twine and Short exchanged text messages together, and Short gave him the address to his house so they could meet. Last Thursday night, Walmart video surveillance captured the two shopping together. Sheriff's deputies responded the next morning to a call at Short's house where his body was found with a knife wound. Now, an arrest affidavit says they also found some of Twine's belongings with his name and phone number, and that's how they were able to identify him. Sheriff's officials just wrapped up a news conference about the case. They say they are still trying to figure out the big question tonight. Why?
We are still looking into that. Obviously, even once an arrest is made on a case like this, the investigation will still continue for the next couple of weeks, and that'll be our part of the investigation from this point forward, is trying to figure out motive.
Short's sister described him as someone who loved helping others, who worked as a court-appointed defense attorney so he could represent indigent clients. Now, Twine remains in jail in New Orleans for now. Court records show he does have a lengthy criminal history that includes fraud, battery, and resisting law enforcement.
Listen, we don't have to blame the victims for this violence, but every once in a while we do have to ask victims to take responsibility for their own life, their own choices that led them to where they became the victim of a really horrific case of black on white crime, violence, and murder. The guy who was killed was a defense lawyer. That was his life, defending poor people. In Texas, like everywhere else, that means one thing. You're largely chasing around after black people, trying to explain why their criminality, why their violence is so wildly out of proportion. Every defense lawyer, every public defense lawyer in America knows that. Yet this guy's giving out his address. He's holding hands and making plans with this guy at Walmart, and he ends up dead. Is that a freak accident? Or is that part of a predictable pattern of black and white crime, black and white murder we see all over the country, wildly out of proportion? I think you know the answer to that. I think a lot of reporters know the answer to that. I think a lot of lawyers know the answer to that. But the only ones who will answer it truthfully are the ones who don't care about making the black kids angry.